Tonight, we step gently into a world of wonder, a world where curiosity leads the way, where logic bends and the impossible feels almost ordinary. This is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, a timeless tale of imagination, transformation, and the quiet magic of childhood dreams. So settle in, let your thoughts grow lighter, and allow yourself to drift down the rabbit hole. Chapter 1. Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank, and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. Oh dear, I shall be late! But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it. In another moment, down went Alice after it. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel, and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well. Down, down, down. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time to look about her and to wonder what was going to happen next. She noticed cupboards and bookshelves, maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar labeled orange marmalade, but it was empty. I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see. That would be 4,000 miles down, I think. And what latitude or longitude, I wonder? Alice had no idea what latitude was, or longitude either. Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? Do bats eat cats? Suddenly, thump, thump. Down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Alice was not a bit hurt, and she jumped up at once. She found herself in a long, low hall, lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all round the hall, but they were all locked. Suddenly, she came upon a little three-legged table, all made of solid glass, and on it, a tiny golden key. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it fitted. Alice opened the door and looked into the loveliest garden you ever saw. Bright flowers, cool fountains. Oh, how she longed to wander there. This time she found a little bottle, and on it the words, "Drink me." She looked carefully to see whether it was marked poison. It was not, so she tasted it. What a curious feeling. I must be shutting up like a telescope. Under the table she found a little cake with the words, "Eat me." Well, I'll eat it, she said softly. Which way? Which way? But nothing happened. And so life went on in the most curious way. And so it was indeed. She was now only 10 inches high, and her face brightened at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes to see if she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this. For it might end, you know, she said softly to herself, in my going out altogether, like a candle. I wonder what I should be like then. She tried to imagine what the flame of a candle is like after it has been blown out, but she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, She decided to go into the garden at once. But alas, when she reached the door, she had forgotten the little golden key. And when she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She could see it quite plainly through the glass, but try as she might, she could not climb up. When she had tired herself out with trying, the poor little thing sat down and cried. "Come, there's no use in crying like that," said Alice to herself rather sharply. "I advise you to leave off this minute." She was very fond of pretending to be two people, but now, why, there's hardly enough of me left to make one respectable person. Soon her eye fell upon a little glass box lying under the table. She opened it and found inside a very small cake. On it were the words, "Eat me." "Well, I'll eat it," said Alice. "If it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. And if it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door. So either way, I'll get into the garden." She ate a little bit and anxiously placed her hand on the top of her head. Which way? Which way? But she remained the same size. She was quite surprised at this, for she had grown so used to expecting nothing but out-of-the-way things to happen that it seemed quite dull for life to go on in the common way. So she set to work, and very soon finished off the cake. Chapter 2. The Pool of Tears. "Curiouser and curiouser," cried Alice. She was so much surprised that for the moment she quite forgot how to speak good English. "Now I'm opening out like the largest telescope that ever was. Goodbye, feet. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and stockings for you now, dears. I shall be a great deal too far off to trouble myself about you." "I wish I hadn't cried so much," said Alice, as she swam about trying to find her way out. "I shall be punished for it now, by being drowned in my own tears. That will be a queer thing, to be sure. However, everything is queer today." Just then she heard something splashing, a little way off. At first she thought it must be a walrus, or a hippopotamus, but then she remembered how small she was now, and soon made out that it was only a mouse that had slipped in like herself. Would it be of any use now, thought Alice, to speak to this mouse? "Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired of swimming about here. Oh, mouse, perhaps it doesn't understand English." So she began again. "Où est ma chatte?" The mouse gave a sudden leap out of the water and seemed to quiver all over with fright. "Oh, I beg your pardon," cried Alice hastily. "I quite forgot you didn't like cats." "Not like cats?" cried the mouse in a shrill, passionate voice. "Would you like cats if you were me?" So she called softly after it. "Mouse dear, do come back again. We won't talk about cats, or dogs either." "Let us get to the shore," said the mouse in a low, trembling voice, "and then I'll tell you my history." It was high time to go, for the pool was getting quite crowded. There was a duck, and a dodo, a lory, and an eaglet, and several other curious creatures. Alice led the way, and the whole party swam to the shore. They were indeed a queer-looking party that assembled on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, all dripping wet and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again. There was a consultation about this, and after a few minutes it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them. The mouse began speaking in a low, grave voice. "Mine is a long and a sad tale." "It is a long tale, certainly," said Alice, looking down at the mouse's tail. "But why do you call it sad?" And she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tale was something like this. Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you." The tale continued, like a long, winding thread, curving and turning, like the shape of a tail. But Alice did not quite understand it, and soon the mouse noticed she was not attending. "You are not attending," said the mouse, rather sharply. "What are you thinking of?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very humbly. You had got to the 5th bend, I think? I had not, cried the mouse sharply. A knot, said Alice, always ready to make herself useful. Oh, do let me help to undo it. I shall do nothing of the sort, said the mouse, and walked away. Alice felt very lonely as she watched it go. I wish I hadn't offended it again. The duck and the dodo and the others were talking together in low voices. The air felt cooler now, and the water behind them lay still and shining. Chapter 3. A Caucus-Race and a Long Tail. They were indeed a queer-looking party that assembled on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, and all dripping wet, cross, and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again. They had a consultation about this, and after a few minutes it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them, as if she had known them all her life. Indeed, she had quite a long argument with the Lory, who at last turned sulky and would only say, I am older than you and must know better. And this Alice would not allow, without knowing how old it was, and, as the Lory positively refused to tell its age, there was no more to be said. At last, the mouse, who seemed to be a person of authority among them, called out, Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough. They all sat down at once, in a large ring, with the mouse in the middle. Alice kept her eyes anxiously fixed on it, for she felt sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. Ahem, said the mouse with an important air. Are you all ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all round, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose cause was favored by the Pope, was soon submitted to by the English, who wanted leaders and had been of late much accustomed to usurpation and conquest. Ugh, said the Lory with a shiver. I beg your pardon, said the mouse, frowning, but very politely. Did you speak? Not I, said the Lory hastily. I thought you did, said the mouse. I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him. How are you getting on now, my dear? It continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. As wet as ever, said Alice in a melancholy tone. It doesn't seem to dry me at all. In that case, said the dodo solemnly, rising to its feet, I move that the meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. Speak English, said the eaglet. I don't know the meaning of half those long words. What I was going to say, said the dodo in an offended tone, was that the best thing to get us dry would be a caucus-race. What is a caucus-race? Said Alice. Why, said the dodo, the best way to explain it is to do it. First, it marked out a race course in a sort of circle, and then all the party were placed along the course, here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3, and away, but they began running when they liked, and left off when they liked. However, when they had been running half an hour or so, and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out, The race is over! But who has won? They all asked. Everybody has won, and all must have prizes. Alice had no idea what to do, and in despair she put her hand in her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits, and handed them round as prizes. But she must have a prize herself, you know, said the mouse. Of course, the dodo replied very gravely. What else have you got in your pocket? Only a thimble, said Alice sadly. Hand it over here, said the dodo. Then they all crowded round her once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble. And, when it had finished this short speech, they all cheered. You promised to tell me your history, you know, said Alice, and why it is you hate C and D, she added in a whisper, half afraid that it would be offended again. Mine is a long and a sad tale, said the mouse, turning to Alice and sighing. It is a long tale, certainly, said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse's tail. But why do you call it sad? And she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tale was something like this. Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have a trial. for really this morning I've nothing to do." Said the mouse to the cur, "Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting our breath." "I'll be judge, I'll be jury," said cunning old Fury. "I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death." "You are not attending," said the mouse to Alice severely. "What are you thinking of?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very humbly. "You had got to the fifth bend, I think." "I had not," cried the mouse, sharply and very angrily. "A knot," said Alice, always ready to make herself useful, and looking anxiously about her. "Oh, do let me help to undo it." "I shall do nothing of the sort," said the mouse, getting up and walking away. "You insult me by talking such nonsense." "I didn't mean it," pleaded poor Alice, "but you're so easily offended, you know." The mouse only growled in reply. "Please come back and finish your story," Alice called after it, and the others all joined in chorus. "Yes, please do." But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. "What a pity it wouldn't stay," sighed the Lory. Alice said nothing. She felt a little sorry for the poor mouse, and a little lonely again. And so, the curious race comes to an end. In a circle of damp feathers, small paws, and quiet wonder, Alice remains, still drifting, still discovering. In Wonderland, nothing is ever quite logical, and yet everything feels strangely possible. Perhaps, like Alice, you have wandered through questions tonight, through thoughts that bend and twist. And now, it is time to let them rest. Let your breathing soften. Let your shoulders grow lighter. Let the world grow distant. The story will continue when you are ready to return. Until then, rest gently, drift slowly, and follow the quiet glow of Aurora Sounds.